Welcome to the Wargamer. I'll start the recording and do it again. Hello, welcome to the Wargamer. Your host, Rob. Welcome to Stream Sheet Day 220. It feels like just yesterday we started this journey together. I've loved every day, or hated every day, depending on how you look at it. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show. Today we obviously are going to be talking about the Age of Sigmar event results from around the world. I've got like a tagline for this. It's the bad guys versus the one good guy. There's some new bad guys. There's some new, I forget the word that I was going to use, but there's some legends and there's some evil monsters is what's going on. So that is what we're going to be talking about today. There are 4 events. Owen, my regular co-host, isn't here today, sadly. He's busy with work, which is completely understandable. But if we could throw Owen some love at some point, that'd be fun. But before we get on with the show today, obviously I need to thank all of you for joining me live. So what's going on? Twitch chat. K-Dread, Professor Mork, Stufflin. Did the Sons of Behemoth win all 4? No, not yet. We're still awaiting their destruction of the tournament scene. New bad guys. It's Sylvaneth. That's the. I don't want to blow the lead, but it's Sylvaneth. Those are the guys who are doing it. But hello everyone for joining live. I saw that there was loads of you joining from all around the world. I saw some Australians in, Canadians, Americans in, York. York's a really nice. I actually want to go for a walk around York. I haven't been in a few years. It's a really pretty town to go for a walk in. If you're ever in England, to do so. Hey to Will, Dan Don't, what up? What's going on? Yeah, it's if you're from outside the UK, daylight savings time happened over the weekend, so now we're an hour later, I think, for most of the other world. If you're in Canada, yours is this weekend. You'll get it at some point. Thank you to everyone on the Wargamer Patreon. I appreciate you so much. And if you listen to the podcast, please stay hydrated. My Hydra homies. What's up? All right, so 4 events this weekend occurred. 4 events. There was one in France, the Singles Cup with 28 people. This was Lumineth, Ironjaws, and Ironjaws. First was Lumineth. In Italy, there were Warlords GT, 68 players, so pretty big. Zinch with Host Duplicitus, we're going to talk about that list in a bit, and the Lumineth list from France. An Ogre More Tribes Boulderhead list and a KO Ziflin list came in 3rd. Fjord Hammer that happened in Denmark, I'm thinking, had a very unique Stormcast list, Hammers of Sigmar. I was like it was 2017 or something. A Lumineth in 2nd and KO in 3rd. And then over in Australia, there was a TTS League/tournament. And this is where our hero lives. It was won by More Tribes. That was a big fan. I think he might be in the chat, Iron Gutsman, if he's in there. Big fan of this list. He's the hero. He's our good guy. And then 2nd place was KO, which was Urbaz. And 3rd place was Deepkin, which was Futhwa. If anyone can ever say that right. Hey, everyone should give Iron Gutsman in the chat a load of love because he's kind of the legend of today. Because when we break into the Lumineth Realm Lord list and we look at the Zinch list, it's gonna leave some bad feelings in your stomach. It's not what you want to hear about on a Monday. It's gonna be pretty hard, but they're fun. Like I was reading this list earlier and I was like breaking it down, and it's pretty gross. So what would you all like to hear about first is the question. Do you want to hear about the heroes or the villains? There's only one hero. This is really important. Do you want to hear about the heroes or do you want to hear about the villains? Hey to Konstantin Kellis. Sweden says hi. Hedge to you too, buddy. Hey to everyone in the chat. Lee Bromley, what up? You want to hear about the heroes. Pete the Wargamer wants the villains. Loads of villains. Squigs. They're not in there. They're not villains. Thank you to Gimme for subscribing. Thank you to everyone who's subscribed on Twitch. I've seen you all a minute ago. Honest Wargamer, help me please. I am stuck. I'm painting Lady Linda and I'm making a prop for her and I can't find anywhere where she's born and where she died. Do you or anyone here know? Well, there's a guy called Doug. His YouTube channel is called 2+ Tough. He does a lot of YouTube lore videos, as does a guy called Cinder4 Gaming. You can go check those guys out. I don't know where Lady Linda, because if you guys don't know, Lady Linda's a ghost. I don't know where she died. If you're one of our viewers listening from dating apps, none of this makes sense to you. It is hilarious. Right. Okay. I think we got the heroes. Let's start with the heroes. Because I'd like to start with that. So on Tabletop Simulator, which is a way that you can play Age of Sigmar on the computer, that event was won by a Winter Tribe, More Tribes list. Now, you will have heard me talk about this list before. I'm a big fan of this list. I'm a big fan of Iron Gutsman for running it. I think it's super cool, and it's really unique, and he ended up going 5-0 with it, which I think is really good. So let's go take a look at the list. I'll go through my notes. I made too many notes. Okay. Right, so his list. He's got a Frostlord on Stonehorn, and he's got the artifact, which is a Frostfang. Now, importantly, it's a Winter Bite army, which means he's -1 to be shot in his deployment from shooting. So -1 to hit for his whole army, which is really, really important because, as we know, KO are doing really, really well. Things like Change Hosts are doing well, and Change Host actually does a lot of shooting. Flamers or Pink Horrors, whatever it might be. You generally tend to get a lot of shooting coming out of those armies. And when we look at the Luminath Realm Lord list, a lot of shooting there as well. So that -1 to hit is really, really cool, which he doubles up with the Fire Belly. The Fire Belly in the list has got a spell called Billowing Ash, which is cast on at 8. However, anything wholly within 9 inches, 12 inches, everything wholly within 12 inches of the Fire Belly is -1 to be hit as well, which is really, really cool. Like, because then -2 KO. Like, they're not nullified, but it's useful against them anyway. So that's really, really good. Oh, sorry, he didn't go 5-0. He went 4-1-0. So 1-4, drew 1, no losses though. However, it's awesome because it's there's another list further on which is all of the Stonehorns. So Yulbad, or you see this a lot. You see Boulderhead, Yulbad, Stonehorns. You see that all the time coming out of ogres. This is different. I'm not saying that any of that's bad. If you're winning with ogres, you're doing really well, in my opinion. But this is different, which makes it fun. I'm also very handsy today, so if anyone can not mention that in the chat, I'd really appreciate it. Also on my own, so I'm just yammering. Podcast guys, I'm sorry. The list online anyway. I am going to put all the lists on the Honest Wargamer website after this. I've just done all the research this morning. I'll put them after this so you guys be access them, and I'll include them in the show notes later. They are available in loads of places. Competitive Age of Sigmar Facebook group is particularly good, and I would like to shout out at this stage my man, where is he? Alberto Velez, if Alberto's listening, for putting all the lists up. So big shout out to Alberto there. Anyway, so -1 to hit, and he's got the Frostlord and Stonehorn. And an important point, he's got the Frostfang, which is the artifact if you go Winter Bite. And this allows you pick one of the bearer's melee weapons, and then on a 5+, at the start of each battle round, on a 5+, you can add 1 to the attacks, and it's cumulative, right? So you could add more and more attacks, which you can't rely on and you're not going to get. But as we know, a Frostlord and Stonehorn is he's the balls. He's the big balls for attacking. Makes a Gargan look like a chump. I know the actual maths is that they're about the same, but in my opinion, they're cooler. I don't like what you're all saying in the chat, so let's not do that. Anyway, so +1 attack on his melee weapons, potentially every battle round, maybe makes him have more attacks, which is really, really fun. I like that as well. And obviously he's got Metal Cruncher as the trait. Everyone takes Metal Cruncher. That makes sense. Now, his general is the Tyrant. That's really important because he unlocks Battle Line, or Iron Guts as Battle Line, which is cool. It means you don't have to bother with the absolutely terrible Gluttons, in my opinion. I know some people out there really like Gluttons. It's not that you're wrong. It's just that I'm right. If that helps you at all. That was incredibly egotistic. I'm sorry. I'm joking. I know you can like them. You can like them. They just... Anyway. So he's unlocked Battle Line Iron Guts, and then he's taken 2 times 8 Iron Guts and 4 Iron Guts, right? Which is a lot. Don't forget they're going to get those impact hits when they charge, which is really important. They're fast, but they're going to do some horrific damage. Really, really, really big damage. Just a comparison, if you guys are interested in doing some math comparisons at home, or if anyone wants to send me the math, 8 Iron Guts versus 3 Mega Gargants in the Stomper tribe. My money's on the Iron Guts for the math, I think, but I would have to actually do it. You can like them if you want, as long as you accept that you're wrong. Something along those lines. Absolutely. So he's got 1620 Iron Guts, which is like a ton of output. He's got the Stonehorn as well. So he's got 3 major threats in the Stonehorn and the 2 units of Iron Guts. And then he's got 20 Noblars as a screen. I love Noblars. I think they're hilarious, but super useful, or either for holding the back line and letting everything go forward and holding back objectives, or screening out in case there's like a fast melee army or something like that. And then he's got Tyrant Guts Guard as a battalion, which is also important because it lowers his drops. So that's 1 Tyrant, who is his general, unlocks them as battle line, and then 1 to 3 Iron Guts units, which obviously is included as well. So really, he's got his general, and so that makes this list a 1, 2, 3, 4 drop, which is pretty good. Like when you're talking about a Ruling Legion or Change Host, which are some of those, it gets you nice and low. So in the right situation, you can put it out. But like, it's a super cool list. I really, really like the fact that you can generate an extra attack on your melee weapons from the Frostlord and Stonehorn. Iron Guts is super cool. Noblar's for a screen, I think it's super great. It went 5-0. I'll include it on the Wargamer website. Really fun. Big fan. Spencer Cohen asked, what's the difference between Radio Robbie and Tory Robbie? Every week I just keep changing the name. Thanks for noticing. I'm enjoying it. Radio Robbie this week is my new plan. Ricky Bobby was my favourite stage that I went through. But yeah, what does everyone think of the list? Trade and Post, thanks for subscribing. Appreciate that. If players like removing their models as quickly as they're deployed, I'm not going to complain or stand in their way. That's fair. Does anyone like this list? I love this list. I think it's particularly good, personally. So in second place, the list that came in second was, let me just get this right. It was a Karajan Overlords list. It was an Urbaz list, and what was cool about this, it's got the Iron Sky Attack Squadron. Normally, you see the Iron Sky Command, mainly just because you want to just lower those drops. To be honest, it has no spell in a bottle. It has 3 frigates, and an Ironclad, and a bunch of Arcanauts was in the list. But that's a cool list. That was Arthur who was running that. I quite like that. That was fun, but not overly different. And you generally don't see overly different lists. But that was different. There was no spell on the bottle. It wasn't the list with 15 Thunderers. That's the other list. No. This has just got 10 Thunderers. There is a list we'll be looking at in a minute with 15 Thunderers, which I think is good. Iron Gutsman in the chat. Big love to him. I'd love to get him on the show to talk about, if you ever fancy it, to talk about that list. My next iteration of the list is Stonehorn is getting replaced with 12 Gluttons. Interesting. So I am wrong. There we go. I'm wrong. The Stonehorn's wrong. The Gluttons are better, apparently, according to the man running the list himself. So, great list. Iron Guts are so good. 440 points for 8 will go toe-to-toe against most things. I agree with that. I'd love to be on the show, Rob. Big fan. Okay, man. Drop me a message. Drop me a message, and then we'll sort that out, because I think everyone should hear about that, especially with you doing so well. In third place, Matt Tyrell. Great guy, great list. He's taken a Deepkin with Eels. There was a bunch of Morsar Guard. The important point is he took 2 units of 10 Shadow Warriors, which, interesting whether or not they're going to keep their place, obviously, with the new Warcry Elves, whether or not they're going to replace them. But not really anything to sing home about, Matt, so I apologise about that. All right, so that is our hero of the day, okay? Don't want to prefix it. If you've just joined us, we've got heroes and we've got some villains. Villains is mean. I don't mean villains. But it's pretty impressive. So we're going to go and talk about the French Singles Cup, which had 28 people. Now, Neo, I think that's his name, as I saw it written. He was running a Zytrek Lumineth list, which is what we're going to talk about. It's the only list at the event that went 5-0, so we're going to kind of deep dive it. And then there was an Iron Jaws list with Iron Suns, which went 4-1. There was a load of lists that went 4-1. That's the problem when you do any coverage or you do any kind of analysis. If you're going to start talking about second and third, fourth and fifth, really importantly, especially at smaller number of events, you end up with a lot of like 4-1s in a fairly large bracket. And actually, it's the bracket that's important, not necessarily the placing in that bracket. So yeah, you might have done 1 extra secondary, and that's bumped you up from 5th to 2nd, but you still went 4-1, and that's all I really give a shit about. I know that's a bit like whatever. Anyone using change host villain? There's definitely a change host in it. It's definitely. I played some Warhammer yesterday. Actually, I didn't use a change host. I used a multitudinous host, which was incredibly boring for my opponent to play. So I apologised about it. Anyway. The Iron Suns list that came in second was pretty normal, but both lists in second and third are Iron Suns, which makes them -1 to hit, which is really important. Now it's all about, in my opinion, the list in third place, which was a Gorefist, right? So let me just get this list up for you. Loved this list. So it had a Mega Boss or Maw Crusher, obviously, and it had 2 War Chanters, and then it had 9 Gore Grunters, it had 6 Gore Grunters, and 2 times 3 Gore Grunters. So it's just like a pure cavalry pig army, which is I mean, who doesn't love a cavalry pig army? And the important point about this is, because it's in the Gorefist, they get to make a move in the hero phase, as long as they're wholly within range of the general, which would be the mega boss. So this whole army can go super fast. I ran the Gorefist last Iron Jaws book, like maybe 2 years ago. Really, really fun, especially with smashing and bashing. It's super awesome. But it's just a super, super fun list, and it looks great. Like, and this is one of those lists. Yeah, the Gorefist guy is a hero. Going 4-1 with this is not that easy as well. Like, but that unit of 9 and that unit of 6 can get war chanted, so they're doing so much more damage than you can really give them credit for. And their movement is mental. Like, it's just so fast. This army will just be across, the whole army will be across the board, just throwing wounds and attacks at you. There's just nothing you can do about it. And with smashing and bashing, if they wipe a unit out, they're going to get to pile and attack again. It's really good. He must be a god on the table. Yeah, 30 to 50 wild hogs. It's the list, right? Like, this came in 3rd place, but it's a great list. And it's a list I'm going to go play. I'm actually going to drop the Maw Crusher, specifically because I want to run a bunch of magic, and I might put it in Big War. Not because the Iron Sun's ability, -1 to hit again in your territory, very much like we saw Winterbite in the list that we saw before. Really strong abilities. I just want to just do some fun stuff and do some magic, right? Who doesn't want to have? So Rob loves the Gorefist because it gets an inherent advantage that others can't access. Such a Tory. Oh my god. Anyway. Pete the Wargamer, I love that idea. I'd love to build out my Iron Jaws to have more cavalry. Man, it's a great list. And thankfully, I actually have all those Gore Grunters already painted and ready to rock. So, okay, stop exposing me, boys. I don't need to be exposed, not live on air. So that was 2nd and 3rd place in France. But now we're going to deep dive the 1st place list. This is the important thing that we're going to need to talk about. So, let's go bring up my notes. Okay, so he was running a Lumineth Realm Lords list, right? That's important to discuss. So yeah, Lumineth Realm Lords. And we'll just call it Sentinel spam, basically. But there's a lot more to unpack about this, because if I just said, oh, he's got 70 Sentinels, you'd be like, oh god. But there's actually a lot more to unpack about these 70 Sentinels than you would really like, than really sings out on the paper. So importantly, so he's from Zytrek. Now, Zytrek, let me get this right, is the first cast and unbind or dispel each hero phase gets +1. And each wizard that's a hero, and he's got 2 of those, so he's got 2 Sinanari Calathers. I'm never going to say that right. Sinari Calather? Yeah? Rabid Robbie is a great name for my name. I'll do that later. So, Sinari Calathers, 2 of them. That means that they both get to know an extra spell. They don't get an extra cast, they just know an extra spell. And each wizard in the army gets the spell Overwhelming Heat in addition to the spells they know. Okay, so this is the magic-heavy Lumineth sub-faction, is what's going on. Oh, by the way, Fjord Hammer, importantly, was in Oslo in Norway, not in Denmark. Obviously, I was just showing my Englishness there, and my complete ignorance of anything in Europe, and basically everything. My apologies. So much. But yeah, I apologize. Anyway, but you guys know I'm an idiot, so that's fine. Right, so let's unpack this. So he's got the 2 Calathars, so we know that you're going to get that +1 to cast each time. His general also has got Fast Learner, which is a hilarious name for a warlord trait. His general can spell 1 additional spell and can re-roll the 2nd unbinding roll in the arm, like the 2nd unbinding roll attempt he makes. So you've got a 2nd unbind, and you're going to get to re-roll it. He's also got the Bellwind Vortex in here as well. He's also got the Umbral Spell Portal, so that's going to be important. So if he puts that general up on there, it can be potentially casting 3 spells, which is important. So we'll just make a Battle of Agincourt joke. Well played. Yeah, it's only taken 600 years for the French to learn that archers are important, but they've got there, and that's what's important. They made it. So he's also got the artifact, which is a silver 1, which is another cast. So casting 2 spells, unbinding 2, rerolling 1, and then if he's on the Balewind, he'll be casting 3, unbinding 2, rerolling 1 of them. And then he's got another Sinari Calather, which has got the Gift of Sentinel, which is just a rubbish artifact you have to take if you're going for Zytrek, which protects you against mortal wounds, but it's not important. Right, so then he's got 70 Sentinels, which are the archers, right? So don't forget, they move 6 inches, they shoot 30, they ignore line of sight, they do 6s on mortal wounds to hit. Only 1 shot each, that's going to be 70 shots. However, if they do get their spell off on themselves, they'll be doing mortal wounds on 5s, right? So he's got 70 of those, and then he has got 40 wardens, and they're all going to be in the Arulian Legion battalion. So that means for each warden unit, you have to take a sentinel unit, right? Which makes this list a 2-drop list. 2-drop. So everything's in the Arulian Legion, which if they're near each other, they get to reroll 1s for saves. And then the Calitha's the extra one. So it's a 2-drop, which is nuts, right? Hacking in the chat says we found out cannons are better. Yeah, you did, bud. Yeah, you did. So we'll go through like the top level stuff, and then we'll break it down into like a little bit more complicated, because I think this is really important. There's also a spell inside the army which is Lambent Light, which is cast on a 5. Yeah, if you pick an enemy unit within 18 inches, which you probably can't do on the first turn, you can reroll missile weapons missile weapon attacks against that unit. Right now, that was chosen in his list, not forgetting every single unit in this list is a wizard. So there were 8 core units, so 8 like battle line units, kind of. So 4 lots of wardens, 4 lots of sentinels, and they all have got a spell, and he's chosen Lambent Light the most. So just in case that gets killed or taken out of his army, and that lets him choose a unit within 18 and reroll to hits. So I did the math on this earlier. Took longer than I would have hoped, but basically, if they all power up their sun metal weapons, they're going to be doing mortal wounds on 5s, and they're rerolling to hits. If all 70 of them shoot at the same unit, they are going to be doing 39 mortal wounds at 36 inches, potentially. Now, yeah, that was the math that I did. So because yeah, yeah, they're the bad guys. That's all I'm going to say. That's the bad guys. Yeah, 39 mortal wounds at range at 36 inches. Now, obviously, that's on 1 unit, because you only choose 1 unit to get rerolls against, and that's also hoping that every single unit has got off their spell, which turns them into sun metal weapons. So that is, yeah, so that was pretty nuts. Now, if you don't have the rerolls, like Dave in the chat is saying, thanks, Dave, it's 23, I thought it was 24, but it might be 23. It's 23 mortal wounds that you randomly can chip off into the army. Again, that's if you get sun metal weapons off. So when you do that, like, headline, 39 mortal wounds a turn, and it is a turn, because if you just double them, then you're going to be doing close to 80 mortal wounds. If you're shooting into the same unit, so that'll just be 2 different units take 39 mortal wounds. But, it's pretty rough. It's pretty rough. And it's got crazy range as well. But there's more to unpack in this, which makes it scarier than it first seems in that situation. And that is mainly because of the Hessian Twin Stones, which is an endless spell that's also been taken as well. So the Cathalar, so the lady who's got like the cape, the kind of thing over her face, she's got a spell on her war scroll, which you pick a unit within 18. Now, obviously, if you do it through the portal, it's going to be 36-inch range, a little bit longer. And then they roll 2d6, and if you beat their bravery, or you don't beat their bravery, one of those two, basically, they can't move, and then you can't shoot. You have to take a test when they move, take a test when they shoot, take a test when they fight, and if they don't pass it, they can't do it. So you basically get a Be'lakor, but instead of it only being one ability once per turn, it happens every turn that you cast it on them, and you can keep casting it. Now, the important part is lots of what we just talked about is based on magic and based on casting spells, which is a bit of a problem, which is why I think it's gone for Zytrek. And it's because those Hessian Twin Stones, effectively, every time you cast a spell near the Twin Stones, you basically get +1. So that means all of these guys are basically sat on +1. And this is where we get to the really gross part. As we know, each one of the Lumineth units has got Aether Quartz Reserve. So they've got 1 each, and then per phase, you can only use 1. However, the Aether Quartz Reserve allows you to re-roll a casting attempt. And this is really important. Or add +1. And because of how it's been Sinari Catheter. Anyway. So the +1 or the reroll cast. So that's what you can do with your Aether Quartz Reserve. You can also obviously give yourself +1 save and give yourself +1 to hit. But the reason we're talking about this in this situation is because of the timing. So the timing is that I can cast the spell, And then, if it doesn't get cast, I can just say I'm going to use the reserve and then re-roll it. A bit like with KO, where you can actually make all of your saves, and then if you've done badly, then you can say I'm going to use my reserve, and then I'm going to re-roll it, which is super strong, because you don't have to use it up to be able to get it off, right? Actually, the way it's worded with Sun Faction, they are rolling on 3+ dispels before the quartz is needed. Thank you, Archie. Appreciate that. So, talking about the Twin Stones again, you're getting bonuses to cast, basically, because of the Twin Stones. So, like, as much as it seems like, oh, I'm going to have to re-roll all the spells, I'm going to have to try and cast all these spells, you've got a lot of pluses to cast, and you're re-rolling the cast as well. If you want one, well, you're re-rolling one in a phase. You're not re-rolling all of them, which is important. He's also got Protection of Heesh. I'm just going to go through the spells that he took as extra. So Protection of Heesh got taken twice on both of the 2 characters. Now, Total Eclipse, which is cast on 8 and makes your opponent spend 2 CP for commander, but it was only taken once on all of the different units. Ethereal Blessing was only taken once, so that's not really important. But Lambert Light taken 3 times, and Speed of Heesh taken twice. So the ability to make a unit double move again. And that's really it. Like, there's not tons to unpack there. But, oh, sorry, apart from the spell that you get for also being in Zytrek, which is cast on a 7. Enemy units within 24 inches has halved movement, and if you roll a die and it's equal to or higher than their save, they take D3 mortal wounds. So, you're going to be able to shut a unit down with a Cathala spell. You're going to be able to mortal wound a unit to death from rage. And then you can make another unit potentially not move really well. So, pretty strong. And it's a 2-drop. The important part is a 2-drop. That's terrifying. You start with a CP, which is useful, but it means you can control the game really, really well. You can let... Because also, most of the time, if they've got a major threat that's super fast, let's talk about a Mega Boss or Maw Crusher. You know, it's got the ability to double move, pile an attack. They'll just go first, shoot it off, make sure it's dead, and then they've really reduced the army down that they'll be battling against in a big way. Maybe even kill off the Hand of Gork wizard as well. That's a big one. Against the other way, like when if they've got an army that plays more into the midfield, something like Khorne, what else plays into the midfield quite well? I mean, nothing plays into the midfield right well because Seraphon just kill them in the midfield. So, anyway, so you end up, you could just let them go first, move into the centre, and then you've got the opportunity to double them in shooting. So you've got the shoots into the centre field because, you don't even need to, it's such crazy range. You can keep them really far back, you can screen. Anyway, it's a villain list, but it's a cool list, and it's terrifying. And again, 24 to 39 mortal wounds at range a turn. So you're looking, if you don't touch any of the Sentinels in 2 turns, they're going to be kicking out about 50 mortal wounds in 2 turns. Like, with no buffs, apart from casting their own spells to give them some melt weapons. That's important. Elf Joe says, shoot has to be a hard counter to this config with both wizards going down to change the plan. Now, that's a good point, and it's whether or not Speed of Heesh is going to be important here, so being able to use things like the Sentinels to move up, the Wardens to move up, screen out, and make it so that maybe you can keep those Cathalars safe. Don't forget the Spell Portal is going to give them some additional range, but I don't think, I don't know, maybe, yeah. So, interesting, what do you guys think? Yay or nay? That's important. That's the important part. Yeah. Anyway, pretty exciting. So well done, the French, and congratulations. Now, in second place, I talked about this already. It was the two awesome Iron Jaws lists. Yeah, even without the Wizards, the Shoecast will die immediately. They will. Just play Idoneth Deepkin, apparently. See, I don't think the Deepkin can do very well against them either, because you've got enough to just shoot it anyway. Hate elves even when they don't have filthy rules, which they usually do. No KO or Seraphon top 3, interesting. That was in France. There are, when we go into other events, so in, I forgot. What's not in Norway, is it? Did I remember? Anyway, there's Fjord Hammer, and then there's an event in Italy to cover. So we'll cover the event in Italy, because this is interesting. If you guys are, they're all interesting. So in Italy, they had a 68-player event called the Warlords GT. Warlords GT. What about the event in Bristol? I didn't get the results. Sorry, dude. So I'll go find them later. I love the theming of range list, even if it wouldn't make me any friends. I love the theme. Yeah, it's like the 15th century all over again. Well, thank you very much. I'll make sure to check him out. I just didn't get time before we started. So in Italy, but I will get to them, I promise you. In Italy, it was won. The event was. I talked about this a little bit already. I'll just double check. I'm getting lost now. Tzeentch came first with a host duplicitous list. Second place was an Ogre More Tribes list with Boulderhead, and third place was a KO Ziflin list. Right. So let's have a little look at this Tzeentch list. So it's host duplicitous, and there's Lord of Change, 2 Change Casters, and the Changeling, and then there's 40 in 10s of Pink Horrors. This is HD list. It's full villain. There is 4 times 10 Pink Horrors, 10 Brimstone Horrors in the Change Host. It's the Umbral Spell Portal, and it's the Geminids of Ulguish. Now, there's some really important things to talk about with this list. Because it's in Host Duplicitous, what you're able to do is any unit that's in the battalion, which is all of them, because it's a 1-drop army, so it's a 1-drop, what you're able to do is take that unit, no unit can retreat from any of the units in there. So you should be able to do some really fun stuff with teleporting Pink Horrors, using the Changeling really well, and getting some units in and making it so your opponent can't move out. So it's really, really strong. And while that might look like it's 40 Pink Horrors, it's actually 200 wounds worth of horrors. Like, it's not a few. Like, it's quite deceptive. But you don't really realise. And actually, in an objective-based game, it scales better than most armies. Whereas most armies, generally, they lose bodies and the ability to score objectives as time goes on. Tzeentch just goes up. They just ramp up. Because you kill 10 Pink Horrors, now I've got 20 on an objective. Like, it's just awesome. And they score better as the game goes on. But it's a horrible list, but it's a super techie list as well. You teleport the guys in, and they're not able to move, so you can just ping units in. So you can choose to make an opponent not move out of combat if you want, and just keep them pinned in. You can keep a long line. Let's say you've got those Gore Grunters that we talked about before. If you just clip the one at the end, the other 8's attacks aren't really being used or useful at all. So it's pretty rough as an army. Like, it's really hard. Spider-Man 3 level villain. Anyway, so it's pretty horrific. But also some important points to note as well. When you're in Host Duplicitous, your Lord of Change becomes so much better. It's one of the problems I've had. I was always running Eternal Conflagration, not Change Host, but Tzeentch stuff. And then your Flamers and your Pink Horrors, they get -1. They get +1 rend, so they get rend of 1 on all their shooting attacks, which is sweet. So I really like that because I like doing the output and the damage. But Host Duplicitous makes your Lord of Change super, super strong. Because he's got the command trait, the Will of the Phantom Lord, you can reroll casting and unbinding rolls for demon wizards within 9 inches in general. And not forgetting both the change casters, if they roll on a 9 or more, they get to cast an extra spell. They've also got some pretty strong spells like Unchecked Mutation and Fold Reality. Fold Reality is really strong, because if your unit's nearly dead on one of those Pink Horrors units, they can Fold Reality and bring X number of slain models back, which are going to bring Pink Horrors back. And every Pink Horror really is 5 wounds. As a model, it's not 1 wound as a model, so it's pretty grim. And then they've got an awesome command ability which is impossible to anticipate. Once per battle, if a Horrors of Tzeentch unit is destroyed on a 5+, you bring back the whole unit within 12 inches of a hero. So if 10 Pink Horrors finally do get killed, you give it a go. You try to roll that 5. If you do, you got another 10 Pink Horrors. Not forgetting as well that you have here 1, 2, 3, 4. 8 casts available in your army. No, that's not right. Like 9, 10 casts available in your army. So ability to generate fate points is really quick. You should be able to rack them up really nicely. And then you should be able to put some other units later on the board. Like 12 points, you get an Exalted Flamer. You can put 10 Blue Horrors down for 10 points. So they also have got that scaling in being able to put bodies down. But chewing through 200 wounds is actually a daunting prospect for a lot of people. They generally can't take off everything in one go. Oh, those guys. But anyway, it's top level villain. But like, we've seen the Change Host before, but this is like, and sometimes we see Host Duplicitous. Sometimes we obviously see, what's Eternal Conflagration. Obviously, as we all know, the true OGs and powerhouses in this book is when people play Hos Arcanum. Those are the guys that play Hos Duplicitous and Eternal Conflagration. You know, they go out. You know, they have a couple of like Mai Tais, and they're at home in bed by 9. Hos Arcanum, they're on the Jaeger bombs at 2 a.m, having a great time. Yeah, it's just a different kind of philosophy for playing Tzeentch, I think. So that was well done, by the way, to all of the winners and anyone who's played at all. In second place, though, we had an Earlbad Boulderhead Ogre Moor Tribes list. So Frostlord and Stonehorn, another Frostlord and Stonehorn, and a Huskard and Stonehorn. 3 times 2 Mournfang and Stonehorn Beast Raiders. We've seen this a lot. It's really strong. There's lots of impact, damage. There's lots and lots of charging. There's some additional hits on 6, or additional mortal wounds, on 6s. And yeah, this is pretty common. It's a good like that. Probably is the cookie cutter Ogre Moor Tribes army, but it's an awesome one. Like it's super cool. And again, if you're doing really well. My background, by the way, today, everyone, is some village art. I wanted to be in a village today. I think it looks quite nice. What do you think? I just found it on YouTube. Not YouTube, Google. And in third place, there's a Ziflin list. It's Iron Sky Command, Warp Lightning Vortex, an Arcanaut Ironclad, and the cool bit about this is 15 Thunderers, which I thought was quite cool. 15 Thunderers in this list, 12 Engine Riggers, 10 Arcanauts, and 3 Engine Riggers, and then obviously you have to have the Engine Master in the dirigible suit. So that's quite fun. That only went 4-1 though, but I still like the deep commitment with the Thunderers and the Engine Riggers. 12 Engine Riggers in one brick. It's pretty scary. That's 2 400-point units. Very Johan style, thanks. Is this a village in Italy or France? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, that's quite nice, I think. Yeah. I just want to be like wherever the Witcher lives, basically. But not like the Witcher or even the Bard. Maybe just, you know, like the guy who like cooks meat pies or something similar. That would be fun. Right. Our final set is Fjord Hammer. So Fjord Hammer. Now this is interesting. This list also very much like Iron Gutsman's list with the Winter Tribe, Ogre Moor Tribes. Only went 4, won 4, drew 1, lost 1. Didn't lose any. But it's like a super weird list. So you're gonna have to go through it with me. This is a hero list. This is a Stormcast list. Hammers of Sigmar, right? So it's got a Lord and Ordinator who's the general, right? And he's going to buddy up with the 3 Celestar Ballisters that you can see in the list, right? Then there's a Lord Relictor, and, like it's 2017, Gavriel Shoreheart. That's right. Or as some people know him, Gavriel Shorecharge, or the Gav Bomb, as he's been nicknamed. Then you've got 3x5 Liberators as your battle line. Classic. 10 Evocators, which is also a big classic. But don't forget, because they're Stormcast, you can just stick them in the sky. With Gav, drop down, and smash. So you've got like this one massive smash unit, which is really quite interesting when you see the rest of the list. It's 3 Vanguard Raptors with long strike crossbows. Fine, maybe just like keep sniping characters. But it's not, you haven't spent all your points on it enough to commit that you're going to start dealing with the guys. Then you've got 2x3 Aether Wings as well. And then, get ready for this, you've got 10 Wardens, 10 Venari Wardens as allies, 10 Skinks as allies, and then 10 Sentinels as allies. What's that? The fuck is that? I don't even know what this is. Like, doesn't make, okay. I mean, we've talked about the Sentinels being fine anyway. I really don't understand the Wardens much, but maybe it's just for board presence. I guess they're 120 points. I guess they're cheap. The 10 Skinks is again interesting, but anyway, this list did really well. I think it's super cool. I bet it would look awesome if they painted it up on the same paint scheme as well. I think having Stormcast and the Lumineth Throne Lords painted up in the same sort of like scheme would look sweet. It's what they had painted. It could be what they had painted. But the Ballisters will do really well, right? They'll shoot into the midfield, and they'll just start like peppering stuff, and they might even be able to clear some screens, as will, obviously, the Sentinels, and then and the Raptors. So if you want to punch a hole in the screen, there's a more reliable opportunity to punch something in the screen, which you can then drop down the Gav Evocators and then just punch through and start fighting. And then they've got to deal with the evocators while you're shooting away into the rest of the army, which is fun. Like, it's nice. That's just all I'm going to say about it. Any rule wizards in the chat? Tell me whether the battalion... Oh, you guys can deal with that. That's for you guys. Anyway, super cool list. Really like that. In second place was, again, a Lumineth Realm Lords list with Sire, though. So this is one where you're going to get extra Aether Quartz. And this has got Teclis, the Calitha, none of the Legion, and then it's got... Let me just check my notes. Because I don't have to read this ever again, because it's just horribly formatted. That's all I'm going to say. Pragmatic, thanks for subscribing, bud. Hope you guys are enjoying this. I miss Owen, though. This is so much better when Owen does it with me. So, thanks for sticking with me today. But love you all tons. It's nice seeing you. Have I not written it down? Oh, okay, I'll just read it out. So he's got, he's got 30 Wardens, 5 Dawn Riders, and then he has got 40 Sentinels. Yes. So only 40 Sentinels, which at this point in the future, like now when you play against like Lumineth Realm Lords, if someone only brings like 30 Sentinels, you can just be like, oh, only 30 Sentinels. That's it, because currently 70 is the tip. Like, so that's nice. Yeah. Only 40, what a gentleman. Exactly. That's what we get to see. Oh, you've only brought 40. What a nice man. He's got Spell Portal and Palisade as well. Now, obviously, there's the so to let you know, you guys know, so there is an unclear ruling on putting the Palisade down, drawing a line of sight through the Palisade, and because of Teclis's ability to proc mortal wounds to units within range when you interact with an endless spell, it's a very complicated set of things. You basically can use your own Palisade to proc mortal wounds into your opponent's army. However, all TOs should FAQ that to not be what we're doing. That's a big no. Otherwise, you can basically just put the Palisade down, try to draw a line of sight through it, and just do D3 mortal wounds to your opponent's army. Which is, and I don't know if this is what was happening here, but doesn't really seem to be any other reason to have the Palisade in the list. If that sounds like bullshit. Correct, Dave. It is. But rules as written, it's applicable. However, it would be nice if we just all FAQ'd it to that's a big no. Because it's just, it should only be to like enemy and the spells. Anyway, but that's why you'll see the Palisade in the list, is my argument, and the reason you see it in there. But obviously Teclis is in there, so you got the Technado coming out the Spell Portal as well, and then so you got Technado, and then only 40 Sentinels. Only. Just pointing that out there. Only. Right, and then finally in Fjord Hammer, in third place was another Kharadron Overlords list. It was Ziflin, Iron Sky Command, Warp Lightning Vortex. There's but this is fun. If you guys are interested in the fun part, double Ironclad, right? Which is pretty cool. Like, I don't know why my voice went that high at all about that. Double one is double Ironclad is awesome. And there's 3 Engine Riggers, 3x10 Arcanauts, an Engine Master with an Engine Harness, and an Aether Chemist as well. So I think that's really quite fun, to be honest. Doing double Ironclad, that'll look super cool on the table. Obviously, he's took the Great Engine Works, the Last Word as well, which you'd normally see. But he took the unconventional Zomborok Corp Dealbreaker Battle Ram, which is fairly unique and you don't normally see. Well, that is... Did it, boys. I did it today. Missed Owen to talk to about it. But Owen would have just been like, oh, I hate shooting. It's meant to be a fighting game, which is fair. I find out the artist who made that background, the name. Okay, all right, thanks. I'll tell someone. That's really nice. Yeah, sure, link it. So this art has been done by someone. I found it on Google, so please do click it in the chat, and then go and sponsor them or something, or pay them money, I guess. What's everyone's favourite list from the show today is the real question. Thank you, Draconda. Appreciate that. Anyone got a favourite list? Yeah, I'll try and do the event results later tonight if I missed any today. Now, you can always, if you are running an event somewhere in the world and you would like me to talk about them on the Monday show, I'd love you to message the Honest Wargamer Facebook page. That's going to be the best place to do it. So if you do have events coming up and you want to, that would be really, really fun. And please do that. So the more I have, the more I can break these down and talk about them a little bit and talk about the ones that are a bit unique, which I think is quite interesting. And again, special shout out this week to Alberto Velez on Facebook for providing a bunch of these. My favourite list is the list of the Twitch chat names. What, these ones here? These guys? Yeah, they're pretty good. Iron Guts list is cool. Any list that isn't Order or Zinch gets my vote, says Prop Joe. Well, I'm working on Iron Jaws and Lumineth, which makes most of the lists interesting, but the Piggies can't be beaten. The Piggies is a great list. Hero list for sure, just watch Hero's OMT rundown, and he has inspired me further. Good. Pig Cavalry, anything with Fat Lads and Smashy Boys. I feel dirty hearing that Lumineth Sentinel list. 100% here for the Heal Lumineth list. I think, listen, when you read it, I get it, it's gross, and being on the receiving end of it would be gross, but ultimately, it's what's in the game. And sometimes you have to kind of just applaud. You know, if he ever did do the 39 mortal wounds, which is the average, by the way, the average, you could do below that number, but he could do more. He could do more. And I want to be there for the turn. It's like, what do you do? It's like, I just did 55 mortal wounds from a shooting phase. So you did what? You did what? I love the pig knights, but I do love the idea of a disgusting amount of archers. Am I a bad person? I can't stand people kickbashing units out of like paper and gum. I didn't. This is my first experience of it, Rura, so I don't know what's happening in Sweden. Piggy calf. All right, everyone enjoyed that. Well, sweet. I'm glad you guys enjoyed today. I enjoyed today. It was a pleasure as always. Any questions before I go? Love you all, by the way. Fuck you, buddies. And thank you to everyone on the Patreon who subscribes and supports the show. And thank you to everyone who listens to the podcast. And thanks to JJ number 10 for donating 500 bits. JJ number 10 actually, very importantly, you might not know, but is a model for a pub local to me, which is really nice. Thanks, that's really nice of you, dude. Shouldn't have done that. That's really nice. 70 mortal wounds as it is 5+1 modifier. So basically what demon players did throughout Warhammer Fantasy Battle. Yeah, basically. What's tonight's show about? Boss. Tonight we are going to be talking about keeping your hobby mojo up in these trying times. I won't lie. Being the facing in the UK at least, I know some places like maybe Victoria or Adelaide, I think you guys are about to come out of lockdown, so you can meet people, which is awesome. Here in the UK, we're probably about to go into our second lockdown. Italy, I know you guys are locking down again. So some places, like, listen, we've been here now, or I've been here at least, for 220 days. Like, and we've all taken a journey up and down emotionally. Some of you guys might be like, I've dealt with it fine. Some of you might be like, it's been really hard. So tonight, we're just going to talk about what it's been like for all of us, and we're going to just talk about how we're trying to get on with the hobby, what we're trying to do. I know playing a game for me yesterday really encouraged me to write some lists and talk about and think about what I wanted to do soon, but with no events, it's always been my motivation. So just talking about that tonight is what it's going to be. Nuns with Guns, we never came out of lockdown. Great show, Rob. Okay. Oh, well, it's my pleasure. I hope this helps. Listen, if anyone ends up going, gimme H, lockdown got me back into minis. There we go. So maybe people have gone the other way. You know, they've gone into lockdown. I know lockdown for me at least has made me go to bed at like midnight and get up at 7:30, which old Rob would have just thought I was an embarrassment, basically. So yeah, looking forward to that show. All right, well, we'll talk to you guys tonight about it, basically. Stage 2 lockdown hobby list, prep is real. That's right. Another event in the Bristol end at November. Okay, well, I imagine you'll be locked down by then, but we'll see. Oh, Nuns and Guns, lockdown's been dope because I got missing to war dollies. Oh, good. Well, anyway, podcast guys, please stay hydrated, look after yourselves. Twitch chat, you've been phenomenal. Or Facebook chat, or YouTube chat, any of those guys. And then we'll see you guys tonight. Look after yourselves, stay healthy, fuck your buddies, see you soon.